So, what is autism? Well, being autistic doesn't mean that you have an illness or a disease. It just means that your brain works in a different way from what people call neurotypical people. The average person, I suppose, is a simple way to say it. It's something you're born with, and sometimes signs of autism might be noticed when you're really young, or they might not be noticed until you're older. Some people could go their entire life without even realising that they're autistic. I wasn't diagnosed until merely a few years ago, and I'm 42 now. If you're autistic your whole life. It's not something that goes away. It's not a medical condition with treatments or a cure. But some people do need support and help with their autism. It's important to realise that being autistic does not stop people from having a good, happy and valuable life. The important thing to realise is that autism is different for everyone. Autism is a spectrum, and this means that everyone with autism is different. Now, I don't think some people fully understand what a spectrum is. They tend to think of it as a gradient. When they talk about autism, they talk about it as a straight line which starts with people being a tiny bit autistic, a little bit quirky, and sort of carries on and ends with being completely incapable of looking after themselves and very, very different to everybody else. Very in need of care, shall I say. But that's not what a spectrum is. You see, it's not one straight line, it's a whole basic scattergraph of straight lines. There will be different things which you kind of are a different level of autistic in. For example, some people can be more autistic when it comes to sensory processing. They might find it really challenging to interpret sensory information, but then when it comes to another area of autism, like repetitive behaviours, which some people would call stimming, you can not be very strong in the stimming area. I don't have that many sensory processing issues. I'm not incredibly fond of light, and I do find it hard to differentiate between different sounds and lots of people talking all at once, but I am partly deaf in one ear as well, so that affects that. And as for stimming, I can gesture with my hands and stuff at times, but I'm not particularly a big stimmer. Other areas are social awareness, which is the ability to pick up on etiquette, social norms, taboos, and the ability to form and maintain good relationships. Then there's pragmatic language, which is social communication, including body language, eye contact, small talk, that sort of thing. I am absolutely lousy at maintaining eye contact, which is one of the reasons why, when I've done a lot of my horror reviews and things, I wear a mask. It sounds really silly because, yeah, my eyes show through this mask, but I just have a fondness for things that cover my face. I can't fully explain it. But what I'm getting to is that every single autistic person is completely different. You might tick all of these boxes, you might just tick a few of them, you might have real problems in one area and hardly any problems in another. But my autism can be so very different to the next autistic person along. The things I struggle with, they might find easy, and they might struggle with things that just aren't a problem to me at all. Autism is one of those things where it really suffers from people sort of having these inbuilt images of what it is. As a child of the 80s, there was a film Rain Man, which basically had a character who, although was very structured in how he had to live his life and had sort of tantrums if he moved away from that, he was like an idiot savant. You threw cocktail sticks on the floor and you knew the number they were without even having to count them. And this became an image that people sort of thought autistic people were. They thought that none of us could cope, but we were all like super intelligent. And yes, there might be a few people who are autistic that would fall into that sort of area, but no, we're all different. It's just one factor of who we are. We all have different IQs, we all have different interests, I suppose, really, that's all I'm trying to say. Autism is just one aspect of who we are. Well, really, it's a collection of different aspects, and every single one of us is an individual with our own wants, desires, needs, not some cookie cutter, and it isn't just a straight line of slightly autistic to majorly autistic. It's a lot more complex than that. If you want to know anything about how autism affects somebody's life or the challenges they have, ask that person, because it will be completely different to anybody else. Okay? This is just a little piece of me trying to explain things to people a little bit and hopefully raise a bit of awareness. If it's helped you, great. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, it's Kerr9000 signing off. Take care of yourself and each other. Latest taters.